Joey, 500. Got some goats in the building.
Get ready for a shakedown.
Prepare for a shakedown. We from Philly where they clap like huddles when they break down. Get ready for a shakedown. We underdogs, my guy. Kinda used to all the hate now. Prepare for it, man. Y'all get it. My QB got swag. My wideout is award winning. His fly was fly. Joey and 500. Like and subscribe. Yeah. Here's a quote you can sing back. Shake squad up and don't be a dingbat. It's a shakedown.
Don't you frown. Here comes the
Shakedown.
shakedown.
Let's go.
Yo, by the way, can't think back here. Welcome to the Philly Shakedown podcast as we all anxiously await this off season to kind of get started. Joey Shakes, what's going on with you, my man?
I'm good, man. Super Bowl's over. I think we liked the results a little bit more than we, anticipated, which was good. It was a hard one to root for, but it's officially the off season for every team in the NFL now, and now it's crunch time with this new coaching staff and Howie Roseman, and what moves are the Eagles going to make with free agency roaming around the corner? It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting because this whole free agency period, there's so many ways that they could go, and I'm not really sure what their thinking is. But let's say hi to some of these dingbats that are in the chat. Logan Motorsports, what's going on? Jersey Dolphins, what's up? Fat Fred, Rosie Barnett, Jerry Frey, Jolo, Bleeding Kelly Green, Jonas, Jazz, Truancy. Hey, I haven't seen Truancy in a while. What's going on, Truancy? Jay Tyler, Skeleton, Rosie, John Jones, and anybody I miss. I see Skid Marks is here. I don't know, for whatever reason, I was telling Joey, like, my computer updated. Now all the text is real small, and I can barely read this stuff. It's so annoying. I'm going to have to, like, zoom in, but it's going to be, like, only the text and Joey that I'm going to see. But, yeah, everybody, thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it. Speaking of Super Bowl, what did you think about the whiners and their whining, not just going into the Super Bowl, but all the whining that they've done after the Super Bowl as well?
Yeah, I mean, it goes from, like, John Lynch is saying, well, this one was hurt, and that one was hurt, and Shanahan saying what he's got to say, and, Wilkes getting the boot, man, like him getting fired, the DC getting fired out of everybody.
That was some bogus. That was some scapegoat. Dude, that guy, I mean, how can you fire him for that?
That's the last thing I would ever think, is that Wilkes was like the weakest link when it came to that coaching staff. Okay, they're Shanahan is cursed at this point, and it's not even that, but like not only the players, but the players' families are like going on TikTok and Twitter and they're like complaining, I'm never stepping foot in this stadium again, and he deserves better. And it's so crazy.
Isn't it interesting that the two most annoying teams, the 49ers and the Cowboys, they have all their family members are all complaining, making excuses? It's always
true.
those two teams. Mark, he says, hey, gentlemen, hope everyone is well. Looking forward to the offseason. Howie has a lot of work to do, a lot of work ahead, rather. Yes, he does. Man, he has a ton. What about the whole Jalen Carter incident with Felicio? John Felicio, was that his name? God, dude. Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, we wondered why Jalen Carter during the 49ers game was like crying on the sideline, or he was really emotional. And like, for someone, like, it's okay to taunt people, but to really bring up stuff that really that was a traumatizing thing that's happened in Jalen Carter's life. And yeah, it was uncalled for, man. Like, it's just weird how that offensive lineman from the 49ers, like the the next day after the loss, he like called out, someone questioned that, that it wasn't him on a specific block that he made and put his teammate under the bus. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, all this other news came out where Jalen Carter, unfortunately, is the number one convict in Philadelphia, what they make him out to be. And it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. That dude, I mean, that dude threw his own teammate under the bus and then came out and go, I was drunk. I mean, dude, I'm sorry, but I just can't like the 49ers. I just cannot. Skid Marks, man, thank you for super chat. He said Cooper or Trotter. Give me time. I'm not ready to tell you which one I think yet. Trotter because of the name, but I don't know yet.
Well,
I have
Cooper's a lot.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
he's how do I say? I want to say this without getting a big pause. He's
Doesn't that big pause require a
yeah,
pause?
So he's a lot bigger though. He's like
Yeah,
6'3", 240, something like that.
yeah,
He's a lot bigger. Pause.
pause. Yeah. Well, I mean, well, listen, all I know is they need linebacker help. And they need it very, very bad. And I think you have to look in free agency, and I think you have to look at the draft, one of each at least,
Yeah, like a war guy. I forgot the guy they signed couple days ago. The other day, a guy that was with Detroit with like 9 total sacks. I think has shown flashes, but hasn't been in the right system. I mean, they're going to bring in like a lot of. I mean, even for camp, there's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
guys, obviously.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's bringing in whatever. I mean, I think at this point, from Adam Schefter said a lot of things a few days ago where he thinks or he knows that, Fangio has his hands all over not only hiring his own coaching staff, that, I think that's obvious, but I think he's going to have his hands all over his own roster for the players he needs for his specific scheme. So
Yeah.
that's what's
You're
going to be important.
talking about Julian Aguara.
Yeah,
I believe, right, from Detroit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the guy shows some potential, but never really was able to put it together. So, yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's going to be interesting, And then, of course, I guess the big news really is the wait and see is with Hassan Reddick. Like, what the hell is going on there, Joey, with this Hassan Reddick? Because it kind of came out Super Bowl Sunday. So we had already done our show before the news
Right.
came out. So I haven't gotten your opinion on it, the whole thing, man. But what are your thoughts on this whole Hassan
No,
Reddick situation?
I think fans were getting the words mixed up because it went from like he's demanding a trade, which wasn't the case. He was seeking permission to go out
Right.
and try to find his worth, try to find his value. And this is almost the same as like the Slay, when Slay re-signed with the Eagles last year. When Slay went out to just try to find the number he was looking for. I think that's really all it is. Now, Hassan Reddick has stated that he wants to stay in Philadelphia. He's not planning on leaving, but if he finds a number that he wants and he goes back to the Eagles and say, hey, can you match this or can we meet in the middle? It really depends on the Eagles and what they want to do. But we have to remember, guys, like Hassan Reddick's turning 30 years old in September. Okay, this is your best pass rusher. Do I think Hassan Reddick has a few more years left on the table? Yeah, sure. I think he has a lot of juice left, to be honest with you. But it doesn't surprise. It really wouldn't surprise me if he is traded because it's a lot of cap that's coming back, and you have to get younger at some positions. That the only problem I have with getting rid of Reddick right now is because Josh Sweat's on the last year of his deal. Brandon Graham's gone right now. And, coming back, how much is he actually going to produce? And, if Nolan Smith actually produced and was used, not his fault, but if he was at least got reps last year and had 6 to 10 sacks, 5 to 10 sacks, and we say, Nolan Smith is coming up nicely, I would feel more comfortable getting rid of Reddick. But because of the defensive end edge rusher situation, it's not sitting with me. It's not sitting with me well to get rid of him at this moment. No, it's not.
I just don't know. I just don't know how you can trade him, though. What are you going to get for Hassan Reddick?
At 29 years old, what are you going to – I mean, really, what are you demanding? Obviously, a day 2 pick. I mean, obviously, it's a day 2 pick.
We're talking about a double-digit sack guy 4 years in a row. Your best – probably – I mean, he's definitely, in my opinion, your best defensive player you have. He's literally the biggest impact of a defensive player you have. So what are you going to trade him for? Like, I just don't see how the Eagles could come out on this and say, oh, yeah, we got a good deal.
You got a lot of things to worry about here because you got to, you have to, work on a contract for Devontae Smith. You got Landon Dickerson's contract is going to be up. Like you got, you got some stuff coming up. So, I mean, an extension's 11.8 million, but getting, I don't know what the trade would be. I know the cut would be 16. So he's a big chunk of cash. It's a big chunk of cash too. That comes back.
I would think that at worst case scenario, it might be the only case scenario you have is to let him play out his contract and
Yeah.
then go,
Yeah.
and not do anything. Because let's say you go out and you get a second round pick. Are you going to feel like, wow, that second round pick, we got a good haul for Hassan Reddick?
No, it's not.
It's like,
If he was younger, then if he was a little bit younger, it'd probably be a different
yeah,
story. But his age is like the problem, pretty much.
yeah.
Um,
Ron does lovely sparks says hi 500 and Joey Shakes. How are you doing?
up, Rhonda.
Good to see you. Yeah, I think I would think, and maybe this is what Howie's thinking. We're gonna let you go test the market. You're not gonna. We don't think you're gonna get what you think you're gonna get. And then once he knows that he can't get what he wants, maybe it'll be easier to work a contract. I don't know. It's a
And
weird situation,
and Philly, the scheme is like a huge problem too, because now it's like, can Hassan Reddick play in a 3-4? I mean, can he actually be used the right way by Vic Fangio? I know I can't take what other coaches have done with him, like Gannon and Sean Desai. I mean, Sean Desai and Matt Patricia, it was unspeakable. But I would trust Reddick more than any other player right now. And like Nolan Smith should be a big part of being an outside linebacker if that's how they want to use him. He did it at Georgia, but I think
Reddick on a 3-4 outside linebacker, as long as you let him rush the passer, I think he'll be good. Now I know they want him to fall back in the coverage, and they like to do that, but I mean, use the guy to his strengths. But I don't think they're going to pay him $25 million. I don't think that. Maybe they just let him go through. I don't know. I don't know the answer because I don't look how you can see any draft pick come in and say, what teams that want to go compete for a Super Bowl go out and trade a guy that gets double-digit sacks? You know what I mean? 4 years in a row.
You look, like if he wants $25+ million, it's not going to happen. Like Javon Hargrave got paid what, 20, 21 at 30 years old. I mean, he wasn't. I don't know how many sacks did Hargrave have when he left.
I forgot he had 11. I think it was 11.
But that's 1 year. But you're talking about a guy that's done it how many times in his career? I mean,
Reddick has done it 4 years straight, and 3 of those 4 were on different teams with different players.
It's hard to. It's really hard to replace that unless they get rid of him. And I don't know. It's really the scheme that the scheme bothers me. It doesn't bother me as I don't, obviously we're not a fan of it. Some of us aren't a fan of it, but it bothers me to where I feel like now since Vic Fangio's here, it's like he's going to completely like gut this roster defensively. And it's not a bad thing. Like I say, it's not a horrible thing. There's a lot of players out there that are available that have worked really well in his scheme. Right. So he's going to get the guys that he knows well. And I mean, Reddick, I'm sorry, but is your best guy that needs to stay here.
He's your best guy. I just look in terms of value. It's like, I almost rather Reddick be unhappy for 1 more year and play than just get rid of him for nothing. Greaser Bub, the original, he says, hard to get a Super Bowl, let alone win last year hurts. It's very hard. Very, very hard. And thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I honestly don't think they'll pull the trigger on a Reddick trade. I don't think there's going to be a lot of suitors, and I think Reddick's going to realize he's not going to get what he's asking.
No.
And then he's going to come down.
They don't have to do anything. That's the thing. They did sit back and be like, sorry, but we're not. If they're going to give you that number, they're not. I don't know if it's going to piss Reddick off enough where he's going to hold out. It doesn't look like he's going to, but who knows?
The thing he has to be careful of is that you're in the last year of a contract. So if you do something that hurts you go out, if he holds out and then comes in, as the season starts and he gets off to a slow start, puts up bad numbers, it's going to hurt him on the free agency market. So he's got to be very careful. My hope is that they can figure out something that is reasonable, like 17, 18 million for 3 years, something like that. But 25, he's not getting 25.
No.
Jose says, "Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?"
No, I was gonna say he's the 18th highest paid defensive end right now.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
at
listen,
25, he's
he's
a top 5.
underpaid.
Yeah, no,
He's
he is.
underpaid. He definitely is. He definitely is.
Yeah.
He is.
I'm not saying that, he doesn't, he deserves more money. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Like he deserves it, dude. Like
Right.
there's not a lot of players out there that's doing what he's doing right now. Like I can't imagine trading him and what he's going to do. He's going to do well for another team if he goes somewhere.
God, yeah.
So
Jose says, if the Eagles let Reddick go, I hope it comes back and bites the Eagles in the ass. No, we need to keep him. Figure it out, Howie. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I when I think of teams that have competed for Super Bowls and going all in, I just try to think of how many of those teams let a premier pass rusher going into that season. It just doesn't happen often. The Eagles don't like to give away pass rushers, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because I think the whole free agency, everything that's happened is really going to feed off of what happens with Reddick.
Yeah, I agree.
Truancy, thank you for super chat. He goes, and thank you so much, man. He goes, I think we have to focus more on the O-line and Smitty than as honestly our O-line play wasn't as elite as it was in years prior. And we need to draft defense. So focus on free agency on the offensive line, running back, linebacker, and draft a cornerback defensive lineman. I mean, they possibly could go that way. I don't even know who's available from the offensive lineman standpoint. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Rhonda Lovely, thank you for gifting one Philly 500 membership. Appreciate that so much.
Yeah, it's the offensive lines, like the depth's not good right now because you lost Driscoll, you don't have Sua Opeta. I mean, Tyler Steen's too raw right now. I mean, we don't even know if Kelsey's retiring yet. I mean, the Eagles know what's going on. I mean, I think the Eagles kind of know what's going on. I kind of be shocked that they don't know what's going on, but this has got to be said soon within another week.
I felt pretty good about Kelsey coming back until I heard Jordan Mailata talk. And Jordan Mailata was like, the guy's having too much fun. There's no way he's coming back. Like, oh, man. So I don't know. Truancy, thank you for super chat again, my man. He goes, I've been good. Been depressed over the collapse. Yeah, I hear you. But still been watching like both of you guys. You owe me a game of Madden, Joel. Oh, and the insurance worked out. Got a new Grand Cherokee.
Nice.
Dang, nice. That's very nice. Yeah, we'll have to play. We'll have to play one of these days for sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Here's an interesting take. Rogue says, extension for Reddick and trade Josh Sweat. What do you think of that one?
It's another option they have. I mean, it's another. Yeah, I mean, they could. They could.
I mean, Reddick had a down year. I mean, I'm not Reddick. It was Sweat. I mean, Sweat didn't. Well, he had 6 sacks, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a lot of these defensive linemen were kind of clouded by what their sack numbers just because of how the secondary plays and how the defensive line can't hit home. They weren't aggressive. They didn't know how to rush. They didn't know how to blitz. They didn't play linebackers downhill. I mean, there's so much that goes into the defensive line. It just they just played a basic rush. You're not running stunts. You're not. I mean, you're not generating anything. You're not making adjustments. Adjustments is the key word on both sides of the ball. That's what it's been. Adjustments is key, and it hasn't been. So,
well, we made a couple adjustments with our coaching staff. So
a lot of adjustments.
We made a lot
more than I thought. A lot more than I thought.
And listen, the special teams coach got an extension, and that was well deserved. He deserved it. We talked about that. I mean, he was the guy that we were a year and a half, and we're like,
get him out of here.
Now we're like, he did a good job,
Yeah.
It's gonna be really interesting year all season. Dowd says first 4 picks of the draft need to be on defense, period. They gotta focus a lot of resources on defense, in my opinion. Hey Gotti, thank you for super chat. He goes, Howie will figure it out. He always does, not gonna lie. I agree. I think what'll happen at the end of the day, if I had to guess, I think Reddick realizes he's not going to get what he wants, and
Yeah,
he comes way down, and the Eagles are able to work a 2-3 year deal with him. That's what I think.
yeah,
But
I
I'm
think
not
so.
trading him for nothing. I'm not doing it.
It's
He
not
can.
worth a day two. It's not even worth a day two pick. It's not even worth it. It's not.
I mean, you got 2 number 2s already, right? You get another number 2. You trust that number 2 pick to be the right guy? I mean, who's going to come in off the draft and put up the production Reddick gets?
You're not.
Nobody.
You're not.
You know, that's why I saw Dan Silly was talking about you got to trade Reddick, Patrick Surtain. I'm like, I like Patrick Surtain. Of course, everybody loves Patrick Surtain, but I don't know why people think he's getting traded. The Denver's only going to trade him if it has to do with moving up to get a quarterback. It's just not going to
Yeah, and
happen.
it's going to cost more than a first and a fifth. It's like, I can't imagine how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost a lot, though.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot. Jazz says, "Yep." Tribe says, 500 told you all Purdy equal game manager. Yeah, Purdy. Oh, poor Purdy. Go play with your Tonka toys, Purdy. I had no problem with the way that Super Bowl went and ended, man. That was a great Super
We
Bowl.
don't know the overtime rules.
Yeah, they don't know the overtime rules. Well, you know what? It was weird that they took the kickoff first, because in a situation where no matter, even if you score a touchdown, the other team gets a chance at it. You want to get the ball last, you know.
Of
So
course.
it was weird, you know. So yeah, so the Reddick situation is really, I think it's the move that's going to ignite everything. Because let me ask you this: let's say you trade Reddick, for argument's sake, for a second round pick. Let's just say you get a second round pick.
Okay.
Who do you have to rush the passer? Like,
No.
you have to go out almost a free agent. Like, don't you then have to go spend big money on a pass rusher?
You're gonna have to. I mean, you can get Leonard Floyd. You can get. I mean, but you can't replace what. You can't replace what Reddick is gonna do. He's on a roll right now. You know, to not keep him around is.
Yeah.
I just say, let him be pissed off. Let him play with a chip on his shoulder. If he is pissed off, let him play with a chip on his shoulder this year and play out his contract, like you said, and just let him create his own value. Like, that's it.
I mean, if you do that, you'll get a compensatory pick, right?
Oh yeah, no, I think yeah.
So,
and you know how he loves his comp picks.
Yeah,
I
I honestly think that the chances of Reddick getting traded are slim to none. I don't think it's going to happen. But even if Reddick stays on this team, I still believe you need another pass rusher.
Yeah,
Brandon Graham's older. Derek Barnett's gone. Nolan Smith, I'm sorry. Has he shown us enough?
I can't
to be able to trust, going forward.
Yeah, I can't put too much into Nolan Smith because they really didn't play him like first, barely, a little bit in the Miami game, and they really didn't even play that much till the end of the season. So I can't even put too much. I mean, they don't even play him. I mean, just the rotation and I don't think they knew how to rotate guys either. Even at the end of the year, like even Jalen Carter was only getting like 21 snaps. Like he was barely even playing.
Right. So I know, it's crazy. Bill says we need Bill Romanowski at linebacker. Listen, I actually agree with you in that we need somebody with that kind of attitude, man. I really thought losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, even though he's not a linebacker, I thought the swagger he had, I thought it was definitely lacking from the defense we had last year.
I mean, do you think they really go for like the top linebacker in free agency, which is probably going to be Patrick Queen, I guess?
No, I don't. I think they're going after Van Ginkel.
Yeah, how much money are you putting into a 29-year-old linebacker? That's really how many years are you really putting into a 29-year-old linebacker? Like that, if Van Ginkel was younger, I would it'd be different.
I think like in certain positions where they're willing to pay big money for, the age matters more. But I think that almost is like a bargain for Howie Roseman because he doesn't want to pay a linebacker anyways. So he looks at it like a bargain for a year or two. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting. But if we really go off prior history, they don't often go out and get linebackers. The only time they did was with Schwartz, who went and got Bradham. Now,
yeah.
I think Fangio has that much sway like Schwartz did. And he might be able to go get the guys he wants,
I think what they should do is they should sign a guy that's going to fit Vic Fangio's scheme. And Van Ginkel's definitely been one that, I think, I agree with you. I think he would be a bargain because I feel like there would be a lot of value between. I think Van Ginkel will obviously, go play for another team, get paid a little bit of money, and be with the guy that he's been successful with. I think they should sign him. They should sign a prove-it deal type guy like Devin White, potentially, and then go in the second round and draft another one. They should go all three. No joke.
I mean, I would love it. I would love it.
You need some line. I mean, you have no line. I mean, you have nobody. So, I mean, Nakobe Dean is a liability as of right now because his availability is the weakness right now because he can't even show up on the field right now.
Right. And,
So-
and if you look at safety too, like we only got really one guy under contract with Blankenship because I don't think Bayard's going to be there. I don't.
He's
think
he's a cap casualty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Antonio says they're not going to go for a linebacker. Too much money. They're going to replace a 29-year-old with another 29-year-old. How much Van Ginkel going to want? What is his salary now? I don't know what he's going to want, but I don't think it'll be that much. In comparison to some of the other linebackers. So I think he's a middle of the road type signing.
Yeah, he had 53 quarterback pressures and 6 sacks. The sack numbers were down a little bit, but man, he knows how to use him though.
But he also played. He also was edge rusher and played off the ball, so he was versatile.
And he can tackle really well too.
Yeah. I just see him as a cheap signing, like a middle of the road type signing. I don't see him as like a top signing, but obviously, what's his face knows him. Petey Tad, they were super chat, my man. He goes, y'all think we get Snead from the Chiefs?
Would love him, no doubt, but
we need him.
Do they dip? I mean, come on now. Like, do they really want to go out there and spend big money on a cornerback? Are they really going to spend big money on that position?
They need to. I mean, they need to get rid of Bradbury. They need to you could get rid of Slay too, as far as I'm concerned, but I know you can't do both. I think Bradbury's gone, and I think they'll eat the money for that. And then I think he's a possibility. Although I think they're more likely to draft a defensive back in like the second round.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I really think that their big move is going to be to sign a pass rusher. Whether Reddick's there or not, I think they're going to add another pass rusher.
They have to.
Yeah. Tortiville says, if Howie had a chance to draft Lawrence Taylor or Ray Lewis level at linebacker, he would pass and draft a backup defensive end. That's so true. It's true. They don't value the linebacker position,
Yeah.
How old was Reggie when he went to Green Bay? Oh, I think he was I want to say 29 or 30, somewhere around there. What did he played like 8 years with the Eagles and I think 7 years with Green Bay. So I think he was about 30. Let's see here. Trying to catch up. I don't believe that was it. I think they offered an insult, so he was out of here. I don't know who we're talking about. Who are we talking about?
I don't know.
Let's see. You got to let Fangio get what he needs. I agree, and I think he's going to have a lot of sway You know, do you expect it to be very heavy defensive moves this year and like not so much on offense? Or do you think they got big plans for the offense as well?
The only thing I see offensively that they really need to, if Kelsey comes back and the rest of that's pretty much good, I think the biggest move that Kellen Moore is going to make is he's going to get like a good wide receiver 3 this year. I think they're going to make a move at running back, obviously, and AJ Dillon's been a name that's kind of been going around a little bit. I think they want to go back to that Zeke power attack, and I think that's what they want to do. Maybe they don't want that a natural pass catcher, like that's just pure speed. I think they want a guy with power and speed, and I think AJ Dillon would fit the mold pretty well. And wide receiver 3 is definitely going to be upgraded. You're not just getting a guy with speed there. They want, because this is Kellen Moore uses everything to his advantage. He distributes really well, and you're not just going to sign a Quez Watkins that has speed, can't route run, can't do much of, can't really do much of anything else. They want to take out everything they can get, with personnel at the highest regard. But I think offensively, that's where they're really gonna go.
You think AJ Dillon's like a legit possibility?
I think so.
Yeah. See, I would, if I got AJ Dillon, I want to bring DeAndre Swift back. Like I want that.
I know.
Back,
if we can get both of them, that'd be great. And if they can use both of them, that's awesome. But I'm saying this, like, he had I think Dillon had over 600 yards rushing. I think over 200 yards receiving. So he was really balanced with Green Bay last year, but he packs a punch, man.
Oh,
yeah. You got to take advantage with the offensive line you have right now. Like the way, even I go back to the Cowboys, how, when Zeke was drafted the first few years, the RPO and just attacking with that offensive line, attacking with your running back, just between the tackles and just getting defenses tired, and kind of balance out the pass with that. I think it's a really good combination, but do I think they'll go both with Swift and Dillon? I don't know, but Dillon could be a possibility.
I would love a combination like that.
Yeah.
Oh God, that would be so great. Uncle 30, a member for 16 months. Thank you so much for the support. Give Scott up for an extra 3rd round pick.
Scott's gone. He's a free agent. So
yeah.
He's not here.
Can't do nothing about him if he's the free agent. Petey Tad Davis Super Chat. He goes, a lot of free agent wide receivers. Y'all think we signed one of them for the 3rd wide receiver spot? See, I think they're going to draft a wide receiver for the 3rd spot. I mean, how are you going to pay a receiver unless it's a really cheap signing?
Yeah.
It's got to be a really cheap. Well, who are you going to go out and get? You might as well bring what's his face back.
Hollywood Brown's available. He didn't have a crazy year last year. The guy from the Browns, I forgot his Elijah Moore. He's available. I mean,
how much do you think those guys will cost?
I mean, statistically, they're not. Statistically, they didn't do great. You're not going to get Calvin Ridley or something like that because it's not. It's out of our price range. Get over 1,000 yards, but a guy that only had 400 to 500, 400 to 600 yards last year is a guy that you're going to want. That's going to produce, but they need a huge upgrade there. Huge upgrade.
Right. No, they do. MDP26 says, "Yo, Joey, I watch your streams every morning before school. You make my day for real.
Hey, if it helps to get through school, that's the number one thing because I hated school. So I completely get it. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Okay, I got to read this because I don't understand what it means. I want to see if I can figure out. Okay, this is how we are going to deal with this. Pretend the last 6 effing weeks didn't really happen. What the hell is wrong with people? I refuse to move on without an genuine answer. I think there must be a second part to this question because I don't really understand.
Who is this towards? Is this towards?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it means.
Because here's what's going to happen now. What's happening from what this says, this is kind of telling Well, how can we get excited about things now and forget about what happened the last 6 weeks? Where, at least on my side of things, literally, like after the 49ers lost, really the Cowboys lost, I told everybody I'm gonna be a different fan. I'm gonna be a different fan now, like a fan that's gonna be even more realistic now that I've always been, and people are gonna get pissed off at the things I say about this team the next 5 weeks during that time.
Mhm.
Um, I you know, it's not, the Eagles made a lot of moves, okay, coaching staff wise. Is it possible? Hopefully, Nick Sirianni doesn't get his hands on the playbook again. Hopefully, he doesn't get involved in this offense. I hope not. We're going to find out easily. It's very, very, it's a playbook that's the size of my fingernail. That's how that's how interesting the playbook is, and you kind of know what's going on. But they made a lot of moves within the positional coaches. You switch your coordinators. Got to give it a chance. I mean, I didn't expect they were going to make this many moves. I thought the coordinators had to be, had to get replaced, but they went all out, and they replaced everybody. Kellen Moore picked his own guys. Fangio picked his own guys. So that he's been successful with in the past. Some new guys coming, but the main thing they've been hiring is experience, years and years of experience. And I mean, what else? What am I supposed to do? Am I, how do you think we felt after the Super Bowl loss? You think we want to talk about free agency 2 weeks later? Not a
Right.
week later? Not really.
Yeah.
It sucked, but you live and you learn.
I mean,
Hopefully
listen,
they
it was
learn.
a historic collapse of
Yeah.
epic proportions, and if it was up to me and I had a choice in the matter, and I've said this a thousand times already, I would have fired everybody. They all would have been fired, but they didn't. They're stuck with everybody. They stuck with the coach, and we're kind of in. See if this thing can get fixed. We're blaming the coordinators, and we'll see what happens. I I don't know. I don't know what else we can do. It was a historic, epic collapse, and there has to be a lot of changes to be made. Um, and I think Nick Sirianni, I think he got off scot free. I think he allowed all his coaches to get fired, gave up more control, and now he's just more of a yes man than he was. But will it work? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Swaggy Daver super chat. He goes, Eagles need to get rid of Bradbury, Bayard, clear as much cap as
Mm.
possible, trade for Surtain. If not, draft the top available cornerback. Draft Trotter Jr., resign Swift, go after A.J. Dillon, linebackers and safeties. Yeah, well, listen, I think you're right about Bradbury. You're right about Bayard. You got to get cap space. The Surtain thing, I just don't see that as even an option because I don't think they're going to trade. But I would love it. And I'm really intrigued with Swift AJ Dillon. Like that intrigues me a lot.
Yeah, I
As a
mean,
combination.
the advantage you have is you can go into the first round and draft you can move up. You could draft a top, one of the top corners, to stick, to kind of pair up with Slay for the year, have him,
Right.
obviously be productive, but learn with him and get that, veteran leadership with him. And I think that's, you have a guy for 5 years technically if you get a corner in the first round. And I know everyone just wants to go in free agency for this big fucking free agency frenzy and sign this one and sign that one and sign. It's not going to happen as everyone thinks. If they
No.
free up and get rid of Bayard, and they'll get a chunk of money, rather they keep, if they don't extend Reddick, they're gonna lose money. They could extend Reddick and save $11 million, and I hope they do because they really need to get that cap. If they have about over 40 million in cap space, they could do a couple of nice things defensively.
Right.
I don't think if you're gonna trade for Surtain, you got to pay him too. you think like you're just gonna trade for him, you gotta pay him. It's
Right.
You want to go after Janarius Sneed? You're going to pay him. He's going to be the number one cornerback coming. He's going to be the number one guy.
Yeah.
I don't think the Eagles are in the market for a corner like that. I don't. I love Sneed. I love his attitude. I love his pushback. I think he's just a raw toughness, physical specimen, but realistically, are they really going to go down that trench hole again, paying a corner top money?
Well, they can't draft them. That's why they have to pay them. So we'll see. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Uriel David super chat, my man. He goes, What do you guys think about trading a first round pick, number 22 in Reddick, for say a top 10 pick, or trading a second round pick 50 at Reddick for a bottom half first? I mean, it would depend, like who, like if there's a specific player that's there. If you get in the top 10 and there's somebody there that is going to come and make an impact, I'm okay with it. But we got to remember, Reddick is your best defensive player. I mean, he's probably your biggest playmaker on defense. So I have to be sure that I'm getting something.
Yeah, guaranteed.
As far as if the guy was asking about the collapse. I mean, listen, they didn't do what I think they should have done. I would have fired the head coach. I think he got off scot-free.
After the Cowboys lost, I wanted someone. I wanted a midseason firing at that moment. After the second Cowboys game, I was pretty much done after that. You know what's funny too? It's like, even when like people talk about certain positions with the team defensively, especially like safety, like everybody like it. Like, I like Reed Blankenship a lot, but everybody like defends him like he's like. Everybody will just take the bare minimum of what they see and be like, oh, he's a starter, so just start him. It's like, dude, we have no safeties right now. We have none. They have to bring in 3 guys. They have to bring in 3 guys. And I think Eddie Jackson got released from the Bears. He hasn't really been the same since Vic Fangio left the Bears as defensive coordinator. He was an all-pro within his second year under Vic Fangio. I think Eddie Jackson would be a big signing for them that plays well. I think a savvy vet on the back end, it would be great for this team. And Sidney Brown's out till October probably with the torn ACL. He's going to be out. So you have nobody. If you're banking on Reed Blankenship, just like Nakobe Dean, do not make those guys comfortable. Put competition in front of them and make them work for it. Because to just say, oh, because Reed's just been starting over, Reed is a good linebacker, a good safety in a bad group. Zach Cunningham's a good, okay linebacker in the best of the bad bunch. Like, we can't just opt for that. We need to increase that immensely. So
no, I agree. I agree. I 100% agree with you. Robert says, why does Howie always get a pass? I mean, that's a great question, because we've heard, that they got all these new coaches now and Nick gave up more control. But, like, what responsibility does the front office bear in any of this thing with the collapse? It's a great question, because it seems like they always get away scot-free with everything. You have to see, like, you test your head coach. You always want to see, like, how your head coach, like, attends to all the adversity that happens. Like, when things are going well, Nick is always in high spirits and he knows what to say to the team and gets everybody hyped up. We've seen it. But to test out your coach, like, when bad things are happening, when you're facing adversity, you're losing games like this, and his press conferences are looking more stupid and stupid every single week. It really didn't impress me at all. Like, was there pushback? Did Howie say something? And was there pushback from Nick? I mean, why wasn't anything changed? I mean, it's like Howie just let Nick just say, you know what? He just let him bury himself or try to fix it himself. And it didn't happen. I'm not a fan that Nick Sirianni's for myself. I'm not a fan that Nick is the coach this year, because I think he brings nothing to the table. I mean, he talks about we're bringing in a new coordinator for offensive ideas. It's not, you think you're still running the show? Like, they're not bringing in ideas. We're changing the whole offense. Don't you even think that you're gonna just give Kellen Moore some permission to get out of here, dude? No. Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. He's just a front man now. That's all he is, Sue Blaze, thank you for being a member for 21 months. Shout out to you. Have to draft Braylon Allen, and our running back problem is solved. Kid is a freak, 6'2", 245 pounds,
Wow.
19-year-old will run over all day long and make you miss the hole. Absolutely. I would love a running back like that. AJ Dillon definitely intrigues me. David Barnstaver super chat. He goes, "We have played a complete game of football. We have not played a complete game of football in years. 22-23, we would be good in one half, then terrible in the other. Getting by won't cut it." Agreed.
That's what we were doing. We got
Yeah.
lucky. There was luck involved. There was putting pressure on the offense involved. Hurts putting the team on his shoulders, and it doesn't dismiss what Jalen Hurts did in these games because he really brought it. And then defensively, we had some good fourth quarter stops in a lot of these games. And the defense rose up in some of these games as well and made some stops. But we didn't have one dominating game this season, and that's what they can't just do this all season. Like these bad first halves, bad substitutions, bad situational football. When you have a situation offensively, when you could run clock down, they don't take advantage of it. Let's just throw a fucking 70-yard pass downfield. Like when you could put a team away, they never did that. They always gave they scored too early, or they gave they wasted a play on something stupid that made no sense.
Yeah. And that's why
aggravating.
And that's why we have all new coaches with a lot of experience, because Nick Sirianni didn't know how to handle those situations. Jolo says, 500 Joey, do you guys think we rushed into hiring Fangio? Are you all confident in him? I think Fangio's a good coach, and if you're gonna have somebody run a system, might as well be him. But it's not the scheme that I liked. I think they wanted him last year, and as soon as he became available, it wasn't even a thought.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't even a thought.
They were late to the press conference, and at that time, he already parted ways with Miami.
As soon as he parted ways, they were late for the press conference. Yeah, like everything else didn't matter. I think he'll do an okay job. But we'll see what kind of players we have.
The closest coach that was literally, it just made too much sense, because the coach that was close to Fangio the most since Fangio has been a coach has been Sean Desai, because he was under him as a defensive quality control guy for like 3-4 years before he became the DC after Fangio left. So they thought they were getting like him, but they were getting his apprentice. But we know that wasn't the case. We know that Nick had his hands on this defense too. I mean, it's just crazy, dude.
It is crazy. Philadelphia says 500. Would you take Jeremiah Trotter in the draft? Absolutely. In the right round. I wouldn't take him in the first round. But maybe the back end of the second round. With your second, maybe. King of Kings, thank you for super chat. He goes, Chip killed us. That's why Howie has control. I know, it's crazy though. It's just crazy to me, because when you go out and you have to go spend big money on, like, let's say AJ Brown, right? You make that trade. When you got to go out and you sign Slay and you sign Bradbury, the reason why you're going out and signing these guys is because they're missing on draft picks. When you miss on draft picks, that has to fall on the GM. And it doesn't seem like it ever does on him. Ever.
And you can't hit a whole entire draft. I think the last few years the Eagles have done pretty good drafting, because they've been drafting best player available over, need for the scheme. That's been the number one thing. And that's when the Eagles have been, really since the Super Bowl, the Eagles have been, when you go through a draft every year and it's bad draft after bad draft, restructure after restructure for old players, it caught up to us. By 2020, it caught up to us, definitely. So you have to go into this thing with a different philosophy now. He's got to put more into these other positions. You can't sign the 1-year deals are fine. You just can't just do so much of it unless you're trying to get, a comp pick or something. I don't know. But, safety and linebacker are like, that you have to attend to those positions.
Yeah.
You haven't, since Chauncey Gardner left, since Malcolm Jenkins left, you haven't found that intensity type player and the back end. And it's been a problem.
Yeah, I hear you. Papa Joe Philly. thank you for super chat. He goes, hey fellas, hopefully Nick won't touch the plays. Yeah, hopefully Nick's job will consist of audio check 1 2 3, audio check 1 2 3. Okay, we're ready to go. Defense, audio check 1 2 3. We're ready to go. That should be it.
He's got no. I don't even know why he's here, dude. I honestly have no. I don't know what his. Why is what his salary? Like what? What's his job?
I don't think they fired him because they didn't want to look bad. You fired Doug, now you're firing him. It didn't look good, but I don't think he has any control left at all. Nothing, at all.
I want to, yeah. I mean, I definitely want to believe that. I mean, I don't think. I mean, from what the hirings look like to the
chicken 1 2 3, chicken or Jalen, do you hear us? Okay, all right. He's hearing.
He's like,
calls
good.
are working. Everything all right. That's it.
He's like, I want to try to incorporate some of the plays. I'm definitely going to have a hand in incorporating plays that made the Eagles successful the last few years. No, I don't want that. I don't. Literally someone asked him what his job was, and he literally said the same thing 2 times in one paragraph. I'm here to support.
Ever notice when his eyes are bloodshot? I'm telling you, that guy's smoking weed.
If he's just here to uphold the culture, is that enough for you to make a head coaching salary? I mean, seriously, I'm telling you, Kellen Moore is going to be the head coach of this team. It's going to happen. I
would not be surprised.
I have a feeling it's going to happen.
Yeah. Papa Joe Philly David Super J goes, I just want him to sound like Dak. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go.
So he just busted.
Freaking Dak Prescott stinks. Lucius the show. Thank you for Super Chat. My man, he goes, Mike Tomlin doesn't call plays. He manages players. Yeah, I mean,
he does more than Nick. You're right. How has Nick managed his players the last 7 weeks?
The thing about it is that was the way they always were set up. The problem with this is that he's getting things taken away from him. He's demoted. It's not like, that's how the Steelers and Tomlin set it up. This guy was controlling and calling the plays, and it's, hey, if you don't change the way you are and give up this stuff, you're out of here as a coach. That's the difference.
I don't know.
Did I skip a chat by accident?
I looked on my end. I didn't see it, so I was looking just before.
I think this is one members. One. King of Kings, thank you for being a member for 12 months. I have a feeling this is our year. Too much experience. I mean, it could be. I mean, you never know. But it's really going to depend on what happens, I mean, I think once free agency starts and the kind of moves that they make, I think we'll have a way better idea.
Yeah, I think everyone's just high strung right now, flipping out right now because it's just it's still the Super Bowl just ended, so everybody's in that off season matter. I've seen teams are starting to release players, they're starting to free up cap space. We haven't done nothing yet. I mean, we're definitely something's going to happen, whether in regards to guys, whether it's going to be post June cuts or. So if you don't see Avonte Maddox released as of right now, it's because they're going to wait till post June. Kevin Byard post June. So if they sign guys, they know they're going to be freeing up that money after June. So
yeah, exactly. Luscious the show. They were Super Chat goes. They reverted Nick back to 2022. Absolutely. It's that basically we don't have a head coach. Him being a lame duck actually costs us a top mind. Yeah. I mean,
if they flop next year, I'm talking they make the playoffs, they lose the first round, and they just look on and off all year and just doesn't look like they're getting their shit together. Yeah, it's gonna be more serious between Nick Sirianni. It's gonna be on Nick, number one, and number two. it's going to lean towards Howie Roseman if this
Well,
flops next year.
That's when you go somewhere. When Howie actually has to get held accountable. Okay, for years I can't tell you how many times we've seen, Jeffrey Lurie press conference, and he comes out and says, "I don't put this on Howie at all." I mean, that's happened 2 or 3 times.
When Nick had his introductory press conference, and before that happened on the live stream, Jeffrey Lurie was talking about, oh, Howie's done a great job. And I remember that live chat was so funny because it was like, fire Howie, fire Howie, fire Howie. The whole chat was just like, fire Howie, fire Howie.
The way you look at it, listen, I'm not saying Howie doesn't do his good job at times, and he there's a lot of things he does good. But when Doug got fired, it was fire the Super Bowl winning coach or fire the GM. And the Eagles chose to fire the Super Bowl winning coach. That's kind of crazy.
What? I think a lot of people, because you're a fan of the Eagles, you're not a fan of another team because this is your team that you're diehard for. So you look at other teams. There's a lot of GMs out there that aren't that active. There's a lot of teams that don't even make moves at all that are budging for GMs to make moves. At least with Howie, he'll take chances. Right. And he, trade deadline, he's always active. He's always active.
And that's why I can't complain too much about Howie not getting fired. What I would like to see is I would like to see them put somebody in charge of evaluation of talent and drafting, and then let Howie do his thing. That's how I would like it. But Howie doesn't want it like that.
No. They'll never.
No.
He's got to have his hands over everything.
Oh,
that's the truth,
Yeah. Clark, David Super goes 500. Joey, honest thoughts on free agents and new coaches. Free agents, we have wait to see. We have to see. I think the coaches. I mean, Kellen Moore and Fangio are not two guys I would have probably chose, but they're not they're middle of the road guys for me. I think they'll be decent. But I do like some of their positional coaches. I really like the defensive line coach they hired. They brought back the kid from Miami that got away. I thought they had some good hires for their coach.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of we talked about a million times, a lot of years of experienced coaches, and Kellen Moore brings in a QB coach that's been with him from Dallas to the LA Chargers. I mean, to push our quarterback in the right direction, and because I feel like this is a reviving type year for Jalen Hurts. Not that we're saying that he doesn't have talent. We know he has the talent. It's getting pushed in the right direction. Yeah. And the reports, we'll talk after the super chat, we'll talk about, but the reports came out on Jalen Hurts and not being vocal enough, but we'll get into that.
David Barnes, favorite super chat, goes, it was cringy worthy when Philly would predict the plays during the games. Also, they have to work on their fundamentals like tackling. Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, I mean, it's cringeworthy for me. If I'm sitting here and I'm watching this, and I'm doing a stream and I'm going, all right, this is a quarterback draw, or this is what this. When I'm calling it as a fan, the defensive coordinators on the other team know even more, and they were that predictable. It was really bad. It was.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you for super chat.
Yeah, this comes down to an off-season program that needs to change. The practices need to be harder. These guys are making millions of dollars, and some of these guys are the biggest fucking babies ever. A lot of these players now, in this new day and age in football, are the biggest bitches I have ever seen in my life, and that's just the truth.
It is.
And I'm just being real with that because a guy that wants more money and then complains about how I swear to God, that shit will never leave me. What Slay said this year on his podcast, it will never leave me. Those comments will just you want to sit there and act like, oh, I need to get more money, and then you decide how you want to play. That you're not going to play to a certain extent with
Mm-mm. No, I hear you. Yeah, it's crazy. It is. Let me see here. What is it acting all weird?
What?
my comment section's like
No.
it's all like freezing up and then going and freezing up. I can't get to the thing. Fuzz from Australia, David Super Chat. He goes, "Hi guys, hope you're doing well. I know what Nick's job is. It's taking his coaching staff to Gino's cheesesteaks. That's why he's a cheerleader coach. Pound
God,
Cowboys
that was
still stink."
yeah.
Oh,
For a
man,
guy
that's
that
so
knows,
true.
well, I know what the Philly fans. I know the Philly fans. Yeah, okay. And you go one of the worst spots. I mean,
Oh my god. Dude, he
dude,
lost me when he was there and he's ordering Pizza Hut. And I'm like, "You're in Philly area. You're ordering Pizza Hut."
he acts like
I'm
a
sorry.
tourist, dude. He acts like a
Yeah.
tourist. He does.
Dude, yeah, Italians would call him Wonder Bread. Wow. That's what they would call him.
Yeah.
The old timers. Yeah. So they would
So
call him a Medigan.
So the reports came out that Jalen Hurts needs to be more vocal. It's really easy just to aim all this at your quarterback, and I'm just tired of it at this point because Nick and Hurts meet every week for meetings every week.
Mhm.
I mean, even during that 7-game stretch, like what was talked about in these meetings every week? If the big leaks were true, that Nick was, Hurts was pretty much giving like Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson some like, hey, let's do this. Let's do something different with the intermediate passes, work middle of the field. And
Right.
Nick was sweeping everything under the rug. And things aren't changing and adjustments aren't being made every week. Wouldn't you kind of lose motivation or lose the energy to even open your mouth and get excited about things anymore if you know things are not changing even during the week of practice and these games aren't like it's weird. Like I forgot what game it was at the end of the year. There was a game in practice on warm-ups. They were doing like a lot of stuff under center, and they didn't run one play under center the whole game. Like
Right.
weird stuff. Like
Yeah.
I don't get
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I understand that, every year you're going to have your players that you want them to develop different things. And I could see them trying to get, Jalen to be more vocal or whatever. But like to see it come out in the paper like it was like some big crutch, I think is ridiculous. I've said this, Jalen Hurts was the least of your problems last year. And it's funny how we've gone from this narrative where if you look at the first 11 games, he was literally Vegas odds to win the MVP to, he had some crappy year and he regressed to some level. Like, dude, the guy was playing on one knee for most of the year. The coaches did absolutely nothing to help him. Like you said, when he went to the coaching staff and tried to get them to do adjustments, they didn't do anything. And he's supposed to smile and be happy. I mean,
The body
I think
language,
it's overrated.
during the game, the demeanor, like sense of urgency, like not realizing that you're in a battle in these games and you just say, oh, well, whatever, going through the motions. Like, I just feel like it's easy just to put Jalen Hurts' face on an article and say all this shit. And then, like, I hate that. And you know what? There's a
Yeah.
lot of quarterbacks out there that will, like, flip out on the field. Kyler Murray's done it with Cliff Kingsbury, like the back and forth with DeAndre Hopkins when he was there. Like, Hurts doesn't do that shit. He never does that. Like, I remember when Goddard went up to him on the side. Remember he was sitting there on the sideline by himself and Goddard, like, went up to him and said some stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and Hurts just like, it's just, this is what the coaches want me to do. So what?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do think that he probably can be more vocal. The guy's 25 years old; he's still learning. So I understand all that, but when they act like my problem is when they act like it's the biggest problem. That's why I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's like this. It's like we're on the Titanic right now. The ship is sinking, and I'm saying, dude, we're gonna live. I promise, we're gonna live.
Right.
But the ship is still sinking. So
Right.
when you know that you're mentally, how do you put yourself in a position where you're like, we can get through, we're going to play better this week when you really realize that you're not going to play, that this team is not going to maybe not win a game. Like
Right.
that's
I agree. I think that a lot of that, like standoffish, the quiet, like a lot of that is we don't believe in the system we're running. We don't believe it's going to be okay. We know it's not going to be okay. And so how's he supposed to act, you know? That's what I really think it is. Beasley says, why was A.J. Brown gathering the team and not Hurts is a real question. I think that was because of the problems that A.J. Brown had with the press by not talking to them. I think that he felt obligated at that point to do something.
It
That's
made
why
it AJ Brown not talking for 2 weeks actually hurt the team more than it helped. It as much as like, you know, he did it for good reasons, which he probably did. He doesn't want to regret saying something that he was going to regret saying. But if before the last game against the Giants in the regular season, if AJ Brown has to have multiple meetings with the players all week and say, hey, we need to believe in this coaching staff, you know that a lot of those players in that room behind the scenes, did not come out and say anything about the coaches and how bad it was and how they just didn't believe in what they were doing.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that Hurts doesn't have to work on certain things, because he does. But I mean, I think a lot of this stuff, like what we saw with him and even AJ Brown, like I think a lot of that was a response to what the coaches did or what they didn't do, and the fact that they were ignoring the players. Like, I think that was a response. And what do people want Jalen Hurts to do? Like, act happy and everything's okay when he doesn't believe? Like, I'd rather him just keep it real and be honest with the teammates, you know? Those coaches lost that whole locker room, and it's so hard to know what is what, like, you know what I mean? But sure, they want Jalen Hurts to be a little more vocal and stuff like that. I'm sure they do. Is it something he can do? Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, but I don't think it was as big of a problem as some of the articles tried to make you portray it to be. You know what I mean?
It's like even like you lose the last 6 weeks and knowing you still had a playoff game. Like, they had a playoff game to play and they still looked hard and they still looked bad. And
Yeah,
did Howie just say, hey, like, you know, you do your thing, and if the ship sinks, it sinks? Like, that's what I'm like. Howie, it just doesn't look like Howie intervened at all, like, with the last 7 weeks of the season. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that somewhere lurking in the boiler room in the front office, Howie Roseman had something to do with Desai getting fired. I just believe he had something to do with that, you know. But
the move made no. I mean, it made no sense. Like, it's just you made a downgrade. You didn't even make a lateral move at defensive coordinator. You switched defensive coordinators and it got worse. You're giving up over 28 plus points to Desai's 22 points a game. At least with Desai's defense, you weren't giving up the big play. Holy fucking shit! With Patricia, forget about it. That was the worst thing that happened. It was like a scapegoat move to take, you know, pressure off Nick and pressure off the media, off the offense and what they were doing. It's just
right,
you know.
right. Beezy says, why did Hurts not tell the guys to believe in his coaching staff or his family friend Brian Johnson? Honestly, truthfully, I believe it's because he didn't believe in him. Because at the end of the day, I don't think Hurts really believed in him, and he wasn't going to go and lie to the players and his teammates and say to do something he didn't believe in. You could tell on Hurts's face he did not.
You know, this
buy
isn't
into what they were doing.
Yeah, it's not like you lost like 2 games straight. You the last 6-7 weeks, dude. Like, how is he supposed to? I would rather him be realistic and not just be some fake. Oh, like a you know, Russell Wilson. Oh, let's go, guys. Let's go out there and let's you know. No, I'm not.
It's the same reason as why AJ Brown didn't want to talk at all, because those guys reportedly went to the front office or went to the coaches and tried to do things, and the coaches didn't listen to them. So those guys all checked out, and that's what happens. You know, we talk about the AJ Brown and the meeting with the players begging to believe in the coaches. I think that came from the front office. I think the front office talked to AJ Brown and try to say, you got to help us. We got to, can't give up. We're going to make changes when the off season comes. But right now, we got to try to, these guys quit. I mean, you could see it in the Tampa game, right? It was like Goddard, like the week before the Tampa game. Oh, yeah, we've been ready for the playoffs this whole time. We're ready to go. As soon as you have one bad thing going, those players didn't even want to be there anymore.
Yeah, the resiliency was pretty much gone. Like I think Howie Roseman was evaluated the roster at the end of the year, after that playoff game, and said, "Man, the roster gave up on the coaching staff, and that's not good. This is one of the biggest crumbles." Yeah. I mean, there's no excuse for it. I mean, 10-1 with two games up in the conference, choke away first seed, you choke away the second seed, you choke away the division. But we were playing possum. We were keeping stuff in our back pocket for the playoffs. Oh, big. Sirianni was hiding so much, but that wasn't the case, though.
Yeah. Jazz says it was all on-field mutiny. I think there was some truth to it. I think those players checked out. I mean, we had our flaws. We weren't perfect. We were fundamentally flawed on defense. I mean, we were. But I've never witnessed a team collapse to that level. And I think if Hurts, my point is, I think if Hurts was out there smiling and saying and telling players this or that or the other, I think it would have come off as disingenuous in that locker room. And people would have looked at him and said, players saying, "Man, this guy's full of crap." I think Hurts was just being himself, and he was being honest.
As we were getting through the gauntlet, once teams start figuring out what you're doing, you have to adjust to it. And the Eagles just never adjusted to how teams adjusted, how defenses adjusted to our offense, and they never. Yeah. That's why it fell down. They made no changes. Too many young coaches, no one that's going to go in there and say, "Nick, I got this. Let me," there was no who else was going to call plays for this team? I mean, realistically, we never got a full game of Brian Johnson. We never got a full play call game for Brian Johnson. When we thought beginning of the season, the first few games, Brian Johnson, he just needs some time, but because the offseason, the guys weren't together as much, because they only played one fucking series. That's got to change. They need to get reps. I don't care injury or not.
Yes.
Mini camp has got to come back. I mean, you have to go 100% and start hitting each other with full pads on, which they don't do. But the offseason program has got to change. The preseason games, how many times the starters play. I mean, the older veterans, I get it. Leave them out, let them rest. But you have got to get some work in. The team has got to gel.
Right. No, I agree. Listen, I'm sorry, but Nathan says, "I know I checked out." I know, right? It was crazy, but I'm sorry. You don't go to the Super Bowl and then you come back and go 10-1. You're up 2 games in first place, and then have that happen because you just never were a good team. I'm sorry. They had 34 straight weeks. Number 1 with the best record in the league for 34 straight weeks. You got talent, and it just didn't disappear. Something happened, and those players turned on those.
Yeah, you don't have 2 1,000-yard receivers, 1,000-yard running back for a second straight year. 2 new coordinators. You get to 10-1, and an epic collapse happens. But we know that the talent, the talent was not going to, bail out these coaches, because last year, because 22 it did on a lot of games in 22 that because of some bad play calls, some players made some good plays at moments, but we got lucky in a lot of games this past year.
Absolutely.
A lot of Kate, I understand this game should have been a loss. This game, they're, an example KC could have been a loss. That Scaldez, whatever, beat fucking what's his face downfield. Drop it. I get it. Things happen, mistakes happen in games to where this happens every time. It's not like we got lucky, but
Well, the way I look at it is to me shows me that a guy like Hurts can win put in the right positions, because when the game was on the line, when it mattered, and even in these close games, they were able to pull it out. They had that gene to pull it out. But all of a sudden, you go after that Buffalo game, All right, you're 10-1, 2 games up in first place, and you look like you never played football before. It wasn't like they just were losing games because teams were better. They looked like they didn't want to be there. They looked
Mhm.
like they couldn't tackle. They looked like they weren't even interested. It wasn't a matter of playing. Like the Tampa Bay game, they had 8 missed tackles in the first 2 drives. And did you see the way they tackled? They looked like they never tackled in their life.
We hit that Miami Dolphins game. We were hitting on that stretch. We're like, man, this is gonna be a tough stretch. And they were pulling these wins out like they were the comeback kids. They were just like, don't make mistakes against the Eagles because they will come
Right.
back to ruin your, they'll
Right.
be a nightmare. And
Right.
that's what they did. Like that Cowboys game where Hurts, he ended up, getting up off the ground, like with all his
Yeah.
strength, getting hurt, and then throwing a touchdown the second. I mean, it's Hurts really showed up, AJ Brown, 6 straight games with
Right.
125 plus, breaking
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson's record. I mean, it's amazing what they did, but
Right.
man, the adjustments were just not. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but something between,
Yeah.
like you said, the Bills to the to the 49ers game, something happened.
Yeah. And I think that's when the players went to the coaches and I think they ignored them. And I think that the coaches, having Nick Sirianni, really inexperienced offensive coordinator, inexperienced defensive coordinator, they had no experience. And none of these coaches knew how to handle the moment. That's why you got all these coaches with tons of experience now. It's not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
You know?
So we know that Nick had no hands on the hiring process. That's the good news. We there's so many. Kellen Moore, what he has in his offense, especially with his coaches, like it's all Kellen Moore. Vic Fangio, we know the Eagles like look up to Vic Fangio and respect him so much, and
right.
It's crazy.
It's going to be interesting. We'll see if that's enough moves or if the Nick Sirianni thing is going to, is it going to be a problem? I don't know. I think you're right. I think, let's say the Eagles start off slow. I think Kellen Moore takes over. I definitely agree with you. But this team, we'll see if they fix the problems. But, first thing you have to do right now is Howie Roseman has to go to work. That's the main thing. You got to free up cap space, and you got to figure out this Hassan Reddick thing so that we can get into free agency, so we can start getting players, so we can put a good team on the field.
Right. It's true.
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
It is.
Yeah. So we're an hour and 15 minutes in. Is there anything else, man, you want to say before we get out of here?
Oh, I have no indication what the Eagles are doing regarding what they're doing. I think we know, like, within the roster, cap casualties, like who's going to get released post June, what players are going to get cut. We kind of know that situation, and the Eagles haven't done it yet. But when it comes to interest in what they want, because we have 2 new guys, I have no idea what they're going to do.
Right.
At all.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear you. Splenda says 500. I've been looking at this linebacker from Ohio State. He's a beast. His name is Mike Ropenny. You should check him out. I will check him out. I'm making sure we weren't getting. I know. I read that too, and I said, Ropenny, I think I'm okay. Uriel, thank you for the super chat, my man. Appreciate it. He goes, I get the Reddick talk, but in my opinion, if Jared Verse or Dallas Turner are there at 9, I'm calling Chicago and trading up. We get one of the 2 top pass rushers and save $20 million that we could use for other teams' defense. In my opinion, Smitty control. No, I hear you. I would say that if you could do that and keep Reddick, I would be happy about that. Keep Reddick for the year. Just keep him 1 year and let him go after, Stu Vision, welcome to Digbat Super Fans, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, is there something that I missed here?
No.
What?
What was that guy's name again?
Who?
The guy you just talked about. What was his name?
Uriel?
No. The player that someone mentioned that to look at. What was his name?
Repenny.
Oh, okay.
RIPENI, I think it was.
Okay.
Why? What did you think?
No, I thought somebody. Yeah, I was looking.
See.
It's true.
Yeah, I've been looking at linebacker for Ohio State, Mike Rupenny. What?
I can't, dude. I can't do
What
this
is it?
anymore.
I don't understand. What?
Micro Penny.
What?
Micro Penny.
Oh, micro P. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I get it now. I get it. See, I don't have that problem. So oh God. You always get me somehow.
It's
Always
gonna
get me
happen a
somehow.
lot more. So
Yeah, well, if we might not need Mike Rio Penny or whatever the hell it is. Might not need him. He'd be perfect for the Cowboys. Yeah, exactly. All right, I give you that one, Splendid. That was a good one because you totally got me on it. But yeah, man, is there anything else to say before we get out of here?
no, that's it. I mean, we're gonna see what happens. We got a few. We're gonna be getting to March really soon and free agency month, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be busy.
Yeah, Mike Rio Penny, good in short yardage. Well, you guys are awesome. You always get us one way or the other. But thank you guys so much. We're gonna get out of here right now. Before we start getting a flood of these. But thank you guys so much. And yeah, I mean, we'll see happen. It should be an interesting few weeks, and then of course, we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
So with that said, guys, I hope you have a great night. We will talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Peace.
Peace.
Hey, we had one.
Yo, you gotta be motherfucking
You
kidding
got
me.
to kidding me. We have no time for one more play.
Look at this motherfucker
What are you doing?
running from
What
a.
are you doing?
To get off the field on third down.
What was that bullshit?
That is not right.
Kellen Moore, he's got to be better, man. He wasn't.
Oh, that's some bullshit. What was that? We had no time for one more
He
play.
had an opportunity to win that game at the end.
But the referee screwed us.
Away, but, this is just
The brother screwed us.
I'm upset, but
The brother screwed
it
us.
is, man.
At least they fought back and tried.
Only Cowboys games.
Yeah, you literally.
The brother screwed us. The brother screwed us.
It's going to end the way
We had opportunity for one more play.